The rope hung still in the morning air, unmoving, as if even the wind had chosen not to interfere. Dust clung to everything in the town square, settling on boots, skirts, and faces hardened by years of survival. She stood beneath the gallows barefoot, the wood cold against her soles, splinters biting into her skin with every shallow shift of weight. Her hands trembled, not from fear alone, but from the exhaustion of being afraid for too long. She could hear the crowd breathing. That was what struck her most. Not the shouting or the curses, not the accusations that had been thrown at her since dawn, but the sound of people breathing together, waiting. It felt like standing at the edge of the sea before a storm breaks. She lifted her eyes once, just enough to see the sky. It was painfully blue, the kind of blue that belonged to happy days, to laughter and clean laundry flapping on a line. It felt cruel. Her name was Eleanor, though no one had used it kindly in weeks. "Confess!" a man shouted from somewhere near the front. "Confess and make it quick." Confess to what, she wondered. Loving the wrong man, trusting a town that needed a villain, being alone. Her parents had died 2 winters ago, fever taking them within days of each other. After that, the house emptied fast. Neighbors who once shared bread now crossed the street. Grief had made her quiet, and quiet people were dangerous in places like this. When the child went missing, it didn't take long for eyes to turn. The sheriff stood nearby, hat low, jaw tight. He hadn't looked at her once. She felt the rope brush her shoulder as someone adjusted it above. The touch sent a shiver down her spine, sharp and involuntary. Her heart pounded so loudly she wondered if others could hear it. She thought of her mother's hands, always warm, always busy. She thought of her father's laugh, how it filled rooms that were now empty. She thought of the life she'd imagined. Simple and small, now reduced to this platform. A horse snorted to her left. She turned her head slowly and saw him then. He didn't belong to the town. That much was clear. His coat was worn but clean, his boots scuffed by travel, not neglect. His beard was dusted with gray, his eyes dark and steady beneath the brim of his hat. He sat his horse like someone who knew how to listen to animals, like someone who had spent more time alone than surrounded. Their eyes met. Something shifted in her chest, not hope exactly, but recognition, as if some part of her knew this man mattered, though she didn't know why. "Stop," he said. The word wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic, but it cut through the noise like a blade. The sheriff turned, irritation flashing across his face. "This don't concern you." The man dismounted slowly. The horse stayed still, trusting. That alone said more than words. "It concerns me," the man said, "because you're about to hang an innocent woman." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Eleanor's breath caught. Innocent. The word felt fragile, like it might shatter if she held it too tightly. "You got proof?" someone yelled. The man reached into his coat. Eleanor flinched, fearing the reaction, but he drew out something small, a cloth, a child's cloth, embroidered at the corner. "I found this 3 miles from here," he said, "near the river bend. Same place I found footprints, small ones, leading into the water and back out again." Silence crept in, cautious and slow. "The boy wasn't taken," the man continued. "He ran, he fell. He got scared. He's alive. I left him with a family upriver." The world seemed to tilt. Eleanor's knees nearly buckled. The sheriff stared at the cloth, then at the man. His mouth opened, closed. Pride wrestled with truth on his face. "You're too late," a woman cried. "The rope's already tied." The man looked at Eleanor then, really looked at her, not as a symbol or an accusation, but as a person standing on shaking legs. "No," he said quietly. "You're too early." What followed was chaos. Voices rose, arguments collided. The certainty that had fueled the crowd began to crack. Eventually, reluctantly, the sheriff raised a hand. "Untie her." The rope was lifted away. Eleanor swayed as someone helped her down. Her legs gave out, and before she hit the ground, strong arms caught her. The man smelled like pine and smoke. She cried then. Not softly, not politely. She cried with the force of everything she'd held in, her body folding into itself as sobs tore free. He didn't shush her. He didn't move away. He just held her, steady as the earth. They let her go eventually, not with apologies, but with silence, which felt almost worse. She had nowhere to return to. The house was gone. claimed by people who said she owed them. She stood at the edge of town as the sun dipped low, unsure which direction to walk. "You don't have to stay," the man said beside her. She looked at him. "I don't have anywhere else." He nodded once. "I'm Caleb. Eleanor, I've got a place," he said. "It's not much. 4 kids, no wife." Her heart skipped. "Why would you offer that?" He thought for a moment. "Because someone once did the same for me." The road to his cabin wound through tall trees and quiet stretches of land that felt untouched by judgment. The children watched her with wide eyes when they arrived, curious and cautious. "This is Eleanor," Caleb said. "She'll be staying a while." "You saved my life," she said. He shook his head. "You saved it yourself. I just showed up." She sat beside him. The fire crackled, warm and alive. Outside, rain lashed against the walls, fierce and cleansing. "I thought I was already dead," she admitted, standing there. "I thought maybe that was all I was meant for." He turned to her then, eyes fierce and gentle all at once. "You're meant for more." The words settled into her bones. Spring came slowly. Flowers pushed through hard ground. Eleanor laughed more. She found herself singing while hanging laundry, the sound surprising her with its ease. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Caleb reached for her hand. His touch was hesitant, respectful. "You can leave," he said. "Any time." She squeezed his fingers. "I don't want to." The children watched them from the porch, smiling in that quiet way children do when they sense something good taking root. Years later, Eleanor would sometimes wake from dreams of the gallows. Heart racing, Caleb would hold her until the fear passed. She would tell her story to no one, but she lived it every day in the way she chose kindness over bitterness, courage over silence. The town forgot her. The rope rotted. Time moved on. But in a small cabin surrounded by trees, a woman who had once stood beneath a noose found a life not defined by the worst moment she survived, but by the love that followed it. And every morning, when she stepped outside and felt the earth beneath her feet, she remembered that being spared was not the same as being saved. She had done that herself,